Welcome to Spill the Tea about weddings with Sheila and Teresa. Hi, I'm Teresa.
Hi, I'm Sheila. Hi, welcome to Spill the Tea with Sheila and Teresa of Be Captured Photography and Videography. How are you today?
Doing good. And yourself?
Yeah, doing good. I have
Thank you for
something
having me.
exciting to talk about today.
Talk to me.
It's fun and uplifting about venues and our favorite things at venues. Because I know we get to see a big variety,
Yes.
going to different venues all around. And I thought, we need to talk about some of the fun stuff that we see.
Yes,
So, without naming names of venue,
of course.
let's say front entrance. What has been one of your favorite things you've seen at a front entrance?
So let's start with when you pull into that venue, right? For us specifically, it has photographers and videographers. One of the things that we notice immediately, just as you're pulling into the parking lot, is if that venue has put any effort into thinking about their spaces and how their venue looks like as a whole. Nowadays, we do a lot of drone footage. And so when I'm flying the drone above the venue to get the grounds, if there is trash cans and things like that, it doesn't look pretty, right? So a venue that has actually put thought into that gets me super excited because I know I can fly the drone and it's going to be beautiful versus I can't fly the drone, period, because there is trash or things around it. So just as you're pulling up, if you see that kind of like clean look of the venue, like that they really thought about their venue and making sure that their venue stands out and know all the things around it, right? So that way you can actually see the venue as you're coming in. That's the first thing that I'm like, this venue thought about it. Whereas other times you pull up, there's a house right by the entrance. There is, like I said, dumpsters. There's cars parked right by it. And then, you really can't get those shots and can't get that view. And I really think couples put so much effort into choosing their venue. So they want that venue also to be, a major part of their pictures, their video. And so even though it might be a couple minutes, a couple seconds, you want to make sure that that entrance, as soon as you're starting that video, you see that gorgeous venue and those clean lines and just this venue that really stands out.
Well, this is so interesting because I have never once thought about it, because you're thinking from the drone. I'm already looking at the front door. I bet that makes a really big difference when they have their parking lot separate from their entrance.
It does.
Sometimes you go up, you got your parking lot here, you got the venue entrance, and you're 5 foot away.
Yeah.
Handicap parking, everything right at the front door. I have never thought about that. So a venue that the parking is not right at the front door.
Not right at the front door. And
Yeah,
it
I've
doesn't
never
necessarily
even
have
thought
to
about
mean that it's like, acres and acres and acres. It's just, that they've thought about it and placed it strategically where their parking is. And maybe it's covered by a couple of bushes if they don't have a lot of land. But that just makes it so much more cleaner. Then you don't want drone footage of your venue with cars parked around it, unless it's like Rolls Royce all around it, then yes, right? But most of the time we're not going to have all of Rolls Royce parked out there. So, keep them away or have something that separates them from your venue so you can get that venue. And again, just, like the venue by itself, and also once you bring out the couple, because they chose that venue for a reason, right? So you want to make sure that you feature that venue in their content that we captured.
Well, you have a different view than I did. So great. Now you've opened my thoughts up.
About that.
So I love I want the doors to have a grand entrance, like to where I can put wreaths on it, or if they're going to be like boxes or plants or something that I could do around the front entrance, and concrete for my welcome sign. Like I want them to feel that grand entrance when they go in.
Definitely.
So I like looking at the front entrance in that way. It's like, where are they going to walk in, and what can I do to decorate that? Because that is one place that a lot of brides don't think about the decorating.
Yes.
Is right at the front doors where they come in.
And then you just have doors. And that's the first thing your guests see, right? And so now they're coming into just doors.
Right.
But yeah, as you are decorating it, you want the guest. I think it has to be like a cohesive experience. You don't want your guests to start with a parking lot that's 2 miles away and now they have to hike there.
Right.
And then now they get to the main entrance and it's,
Yeah.
You want them to be
Yeah.
blown away
It's just
by
basic.
it.
It's
Exactly. You
basic.
want them to like at least to see, start seeing the experience. Like I am in this couple's wedding. Look at the colors. Look at the decoration they chose. So having like a grand entrance, like like grand doors, having double doors versus just one little door.
Yeah.
Of course, like it's a
Love
major
double
difference.
And I like rocking chairs or ferns or something that's like green,
put.
like right by the front door.
Yeah, to break up the colors a little bit.
And then what about ceremony spaces? What has been some of your favorite ceremony? I have quite a few, but let's hear yours.
So I think the ones that I've been like wow is when the ceremony space is separate from the actual area where they're having their reception from the actual like that area, and then it gives you a whole different experience. It immerses you into what that venue does, right? Like, so if it's a venue out in the country and and you want to be in that country area and you have that space for the ceremony where you're outside and then your decoration also incorporates it into it, I think that just makes it beautiful, and it separates it, and it gives you two completely different looks from your ceremony to your actual reception area. Now, depending on the time of the year, some areas, really, really approach the like weather. So a lot of venues do spring, beautiful like gardens, roses, others, like the green trees in, like in the areas. And all of that just incorporates the area where this couple chose to get married. Most of the time they chose it for a reason. So that's a big, a big differentiation between just having the venue, you're in the reception area, you get married in the reception area, and then you flip it, and then now that's your ceremony, or I'm sorry, the other way around, right? Ceremony area, you flip it, and then it's your reception area, but it's still the same area. And I really like when you have spaces, so that way your guests and you as a couple get a lot of different looks versus just one look.
It reminds me of more destination, because usually you would be at a church or a chapel, and then people would travel to the reception space, which kind of gave them more of a destination for the rest of the night. But what's so great is where venues now incorporating ceremony spaces on site, they get to go to another location, but they're not having to worry about traveling, loading up in their car, worrying about any of that. And it works really nice if they have thought. And so that's kind of where that journey is that you're talking about. Like that they're in one place and they go across a cute little bridge to get to the cocktail hour. It kind of makes you feel like you are getting the whole experience.
It is, and it immerses you, and you're kind of like transformed into this couple's like love story. I'm a big romantic, so
Me
I always.
I even cry at weddings.
I know. I heard. I heard.
And I feel the same way about with cocktail hour. So I like cocktail hour. One of my favorite things with it is I like to have a bar there. Like they're not having to go inside or go up the stairs. And I've had that situation before where the bar was on the second level, and so we're going up and down, up and down, up and down the stairs. And so I like for it to be thought out that cocktail hour has a bar there, and umbrellas or a cover, something that if it's sunny, because most ceremony spaces, especially if people want to get married outside, they're not necessarily covered. So they've been sitting in the heat. North Carolina summer in the sun. So it's nice for cocktail hour to have shade options, but still be able to enjoy the outdoors. So those would be my number 1 and 2 is a bar specific for cocktail hour and forms of shade.
Yes, and adding on to that, when a venue has thought of having a special place selected only for cocktail hour and has also made it a space that's visually attractive. I love that because a lot of times the cocktail hour is an afterthought.
Right.
It's out in the yard. They put a couple tables, and then they bring like a bar, a portable bar, and then they set it up. But a lot of venues nowadays have these special areas that are just cocktail hour areas, and they actually are a whole experience. Like they actually have a whole different vibe, a whole different feel to them versus just an afterthought. And I think when you do have that area, that cocktail area, one of the services that sometimes couples do to themselves is they don't think about it and they don't plan anything for it.
Right.
And so it's just tables and your guests are just there. If you have that space, making it also something in something attractive, something that is also thought of. Also, I think I love it because then it's just capturing that part, and then especially in cocktail hour, that's when people are just coming off the high of just seeing them say I do, say like do their first kiss, be presented as husband and wife. So they're all excited. So usually cocktail hour, that's when people are in that high. You want to keep them on the high. You don't want your guests to get bored at cocktail hour or say like this sucks. There's not even any shade here. And then that's when people start saying like, okay, like I'm just gonna stay for the first dance and I'm out.
And if it's hot, they're ready to go inside. Ready to go inside.
Yes.
So, two of the most important things for cocktail hours for me is music. Have that DJ playing some music. And number two is some form of light food. Now, I'm not one that thinks it needs to be 4 heavy hors d'oeuvres. I tell people all the time, 2 is enough for an hour, like 2 different types.
Yeah.
I do prefer pass because setting up food tables in the great outdoors at certain times of the year, there's flies, there's bugs, it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
I tell people, please have pasta hors d'oeuvres or appetizer. It just makes so much sense. And it's an activity because they're walking around. They're like, oh, look at that tray. What's on that tray? It's a conversation starter. You kind of get to pick and choose. Yeah. And so I prefer that. Now, games are always fun. That's a perfect place for a photo booth versus dancing. Yes. I find that if you have it at cocktail hour, more people are enjoying the photo booth because they have nothing else to do. So they line up, they get in it. If you put it in reception only during dancing, a lot of people just never go over.
Yes.
Art is always fun to do.
It is.
Like to have something, there's art displayed. Of course, you got your guest books that come out. But I think that's definitely where the activity should be.
Oh, definitely. And that's when like you said, the guests are going to actually be doing those activities because, as you mentioned, that's when they have that time. But yeah, I think the whole cocktail experience needs to be an experience. I mean, how many times have you not seen that they put out tables out there with tons of food and nobody touches it because now the flies have gotten to it.
Right.
But if you're passing it around, if you have a couple, and you don't have to have a lot, you can just have a couple people passing it around. People are actually grabbing it and enjoying it. So you put all that amount of money into all of that, people are actually going to eat it versus just going and having it go to waste.
Well, I'll be honest. When I go to any event and I see that food's been out, I'll forego it because I'm like, oh, the fly been on it. So I'm guilty of it myself. So that's why I encourage my couples. And most of the time, if you control like what instead of doing 4 things, do 2 and have it passed. Because it really does it gives like that activity, but also sanitation wise, and then you don't have like
and
food
also,
that's been
people are
sitting
having
out.
fun. They're chatting. They don't want to go and grab something, but if somebody's coming around offering you stuff, you're probably going to grab it.
Yeah.
Right?
And you can do shrimp because it's been cooled, it's chilled, it's fresh. I don't put shrimp on a table during cocktail hour. So see, then that opens you up to being able to have warm foods and chilled foods, and you're not worried about how to present it on a table.
Definitely.
All right, so we both agree we love cocktail hour.
We do.
So let's talk about reception.
Yes.
What are your favorite things in a reception?
Obviously, like a very open space, high ceilings. I think the higher the better because it just gives you it just kind of tricks your mind into thinking like this is a huge space, you know, and you want to, you know, like the reception to wow your guests. So I feel, you know, when they have an open space, you can play a lot more, you know, with your decorations and also, you know, with that space versus if it's more like a smaller, like lower, lower roof space. And then you know that also that space has been thought out because in a wedding there's people walking around everywhere. You don't want to have a bathroom right behind a table where some people are eating,
Right.
Which has happened.
Great thing to mention.
Exactly. And also if I'm capturing it and I have to and I'm always getting the sign of the bathroom because that's where everything has been angled towards.
Right.
It's not clean, it's not elegant. So, you know, good venues, when you walk in, it's very clean. Obviously, once the decorations come in, then the decorations are like completely a whole other thing, and you know we can talk decorations for 20 hours with you. But the space of the venue itself, a cleaner aesthetic, I would say, and definitely well thought out in things. Has that, you know, you don't want bathrooms close to a table. You want them to be a little bit separate. You want to have a space so that people can mingle. You don't want to have walls kind of, you know, separating guests because then sometimes, you know, guests can be like, well, I'm in the section that nobody wants to be in, right?
Or I'm in the back. Like if the layout is not proper, people always feel like they're in the back. One of the things that is the first thing that I notice coming in on the florist decor, well, we'll even say on the planning side, because I'm usually there before all those vendors arrive. Cleanliness is number one. Like, and I think simplicity. You can have too many pieces of furniture. Like sometimes the venues will feel, let me put this table over here, let me do this one over here, let me do this over here. And then that's not everybody's style. You might not need all those tables. You don't have anywhere to put them. And in some, they'll have a step-in foyer, and then it'll have like a vintage piece of furniture with a mirror and a chandelier. That might be totally opposite of this modern wedding, right? So I think simplicity is best. And it's nice if you have some options that they could use for a cake table, but not have a permanent space inside the floor. Like leave it clean and open because then every single bride is going to walk in and they're all going to be seeing something different. Exactly. And I think less is more when it comes to the venue. Cleanliness and lighting are two extremely important things.
And I think, you know, when I'm talking about that furniture that stays there, a lot of time with venues that have some furniture, some of it is antique, right? Well, think of, you know, antique mirrors. The mirrors start becoming kind of, you know, grayish and stuff. So is that a look that the couple wants? And if there is no way to move it, then that's the look you're going to have, right? So I think for a venue, because we're talking venues, the cleaner the aesthetic, the better, because the venue is, well, the primary and the most important for the couple, but they want to make that venue their own. You don't want to have the same decorations wedding after wedding because you can't remove them because the venue has all this furniture like that's set up permanently. So when I walk into a venue and I see like a blank canvas, my excitement is, I can't wait to see what, you know, the florists, you know, like all the decorations come together and see how this space is going to be transformed from the wedding we did here 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a year ago, because having that clean aesthetic allows you to personalize it so much.
Right.
So I'd rather have a venue that's more like a clean aesthetic and where, you know, couples can personalize it, and versus having a venue that has so much stuff already on it that you can't move anything and then everybody's going to look the same.
And that's another thing too with carpet. Like somebody have blue carpet or they're going to have tile flooring. And, you know, I think less is more.
It is.
Like less is more. Keep it light, keep it simple, and don't overstimulate. Because every single wedding I do, they have it in their mind because they've got the Pinterest photos or AI or whatever they're looking at, and they have this vision in their mind. So if I've got a blue sofa and, you know,
can't
a
move it.
beige carpet, it kind of eliminates some of the dream visual spaces. So we both agree, photography and decorating wise, we both agree.
Definitely.
Less
Now-
is more when it comes to the venue.
It
Clean,
is.
clean, clean, less is more.
Definitely. Now, I will say there is the one exception, and that's when the venue is so well thought out that what they do, like I've seen it, it's just all kind of white and crystal, and then you can decorate
But
it
you
and
like
change
the
the
crystals
color.
and the diamonds.
True. I will say guilty.
Now, I love a beautiful chandelier.
Exactly.
I love seeing crystal. Now, I absolutely love chandeliers, and I like accent lighting. I think that's
Definitely.
really cool.
Oh, definitely. For us, lighting is, where you make it or break it at a wedding, because if the lighting is horrible, obviously we carry equipment, right? But it helps that you have good lighting in the venue. It
would be, and that's one thing with every DJ. They're like, okay, turn down the lights. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 20 switches, right? It should be right, cut down all the lights. That's the one thing on my dream list for venues. It's like, can I have a remote control
for all of the lights?
And go click, and I can just slide it down, so then I'm not running around to all the different little light switches. So anybody watching this, that would be my dream, is a remote control lighting switch. Love that you pointed out about bathrooms, because so often they're right at the front door.
Yes.
And God forbid, sometimes where the sweetheart table goes, it seems like they have a lot going on in that space too. So I'm like, simple. And when we work somewhere a lot, we try to get creative, think, okay, what can I do different? I've done this 20 times. And so when you don't have a whole lot of extras, it gives you more design freedom to try to be creative and get out of the box and do something different.
Yeah.
Especially for those of us that do go often to the same ones.
Yeah.
And inside bar, must have an inside bar.
Definitely.
Yeah. But not in the middle of the room, not the shining star.
No, definitely not. I think bar is very important, and you have to think, in all weddings, I think in every wedding I've seen, you're going to get a line sometimes at the bar.
Yes.
You don't want that line in the middle of the dance floor.
No.
You want it kind of off to the side. So you do have to think about that when you're putting a bar. And so when you go into a venue and the bar is off to the side, it's great, but also calling attention, because obviously the bar is the happening place at most weddings during reception. That's a great way to incorporate the bar. Make sure that it's not in the middle where it's going to be blocking the entrance to the bathroom, because there's a line of people that are trying to also get to the bar and to the bathroom, because then the lines are going to get confused and you might have some.
Yeah, especially after the cake's been cut, that's where the party's going.
Yeah.
It's going to be on the dance floor and at the bar.
Oh, yep.
And then outside of that, I would say, and I guess for me, I'm not the photographer or the videographer, but I'm going to tell you some of my favorite places for photos. Yours is going to outdo my list. I love staircases. I love that. Yeah. I love anything, like, I love a bridge. You give me any photography on a bridge with my bouquet, and of course a couple. We'll take the couple too.
Yes, of course.
I love bridge photos, and I love staircase photos, and I also, of course, it's going to be the golden hour. That'd probably be my 3 favorite. Yeah. I like getaway cars.
Yes.
And I like it when they're decorated and you can see them kissing in the car and stuff going down the road. I think that's so cute. I think that's a perfect ending to every single wedding album.
Definitely.
I think that's adorable.
Definitely. For me, one of the biggest things is the bridal suite and the groomsman suite, because the whole morning is spent in those 2 spaces.
Get ready. But don't you see, this is what I find. You're putting all the girls in there and all their bags and all their stuff, and every time I go in there, it's like, I just want to clean the room.
Of course.
So how do you get these great shots in these rooms when you go, wouldn't it be great if we had somewhere to hide everybody's bags?
Definitely. Yeah. And a lot of venues are already thinking of that.
Maybe that's another thing for the venues to think about. Yeah, where can we hide their stuff?
A lot of venues already have incorporated that, or already have some way to get around it. Sometimes there's a bathroom in the suite, and the bathroom becomes the stuffing place. Sometimes they have closets. Other times they have a whole separate area. So they'll have an area for hair and makeup, but then they'll have an area where the bride gets into her dress.
Right.
And that area is an open space. They usually have, of course, mirrors because the bride needs to look at herself. But that avoids having to have a space where they can put other stuff because they can get all the mess in the makeup room, but the other room stays completely open and empty. And other venues have areas around within the same area. So where you have your bridal suite, you have a little bit of areas where they can come out from the bridal suite and still do gorgeous portraits. So I love that they do think about that and that they have some spaces. And the other one is the groom. My poor grooms. Sometimes, we walk into venues and you see that it's just probably a closet that they converted into a groomsman room. So when I walk in and I see a groomsman room that's so thought out, that's manly, because obviously you don't want, makeup chairs in the groomsman's room. When you
they want a mini bar. That's
yes.
what they want. They want a
definitely.
mini bar.
TVs.
Yep, TV.
Poker tables, pool tables. I mean, but just a special area for the groom that's more masculine, I would say. Love it when I see that in a venue. I'm like, yes, we have a space for the groom.
And there's some venues that go all out with like outdoor seating, cornhole, archery. Like there's all kinds of fun things.
Definitely.
But I find, and I just went through this a few weekends ago, they said all we need, because they have no TV, they're like, we just want to watch a game. And I'm thinking, Saturday football,
Yes.
if you're a college. So I think a TV.
It's always a good idea.
A TV in the guys' room, like if they don't have to have a cornhole, if they could have sports on TV, race car or something like that. That's a good idea. That's another plus.
Definitely.
I've never thought about that.
Definitely.
For the guys.
And if you think about it, then going into favorite pictures, those intimate pictures of the bride in the bridal suite, in her dress, once she's all put together. Those first moments after now she's a bride, like because she walks in and she walks in PJs, no hair, no makeup, no shoes, dressed in anything, and then she converts into this princess. So those pictures I think are gorgeous because they're so intimate and you can feel the emotion that's going through them, because also that's when they're getting that emotion about like I'm about to walk down the aisle.
Getting dressed, yes.
Exactly, and it's the same for the groom. So I do love those because it gives them a moment. We usually take them just by themselves, and it gives them a moment to breathe because everybody's pulling them in every direction, but it gives them a moment to breathe and start thinking, okay, I'm about to get married to the love of my life, right? So I love those pictures. But of course, we are known for our golden hour. So when we have venues that have spaces that can allow us to play with the golden hour, that's always, the best for us, because sometimes you have venues that have not thought of that, and there is just no way to get any sunburst, any golden hour, except for looking up in the sky. So when we do have those spaces, it just allows us to capture those golden hour moments that are so romantic for the couple. So definitely, of course, golden hour is always beautiful, and a venue that has thought out about their golden hour, even put a bridge that will point to the golden hour. I mean, those pictures are just...
Get a bridge and the golden... See, that'd be two off of my left.
There you go. Exactly. So, I think to kind of wrap this up, right, a little bit, I think, couples, when you go to your venue, just make sure you know that that's the venue. Think of it like, this is the place where I'm going to get married. This is the place where I'm going to say I do to the love of my life. Can you see yourself here? Can you envision it? Can you see your guests? And the experience from when you come into the door and you look at the venue, if that really gets to you and gets to your heart, I think then you're at the right place. Yeah. If you get to it and I don't know, you already look at it and it's just not really, this is the place. Right. Maybe that's not a place.
It could be the color, it could be the carpet, could be the entrance. It could be, if you're not feeling 100%, I agree, keep looking. Yeah. And the one thing we didn't mention, which I probably mentioned podcast after podcast, Teresa and I have said it 1,000 times, is rain plan.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because if you do not have a rain plan, the majority of these venues, you're going to get married on the dance floor.
Yes.
And so you have to think, do I want, that what I want? And there's not a whole lot that have outdoor rain plans to where your guests can get inside without getting wet, or inside floor plans that's outside of your dance floor. So think about that too. And if you've got 50 or 75 guests, it may not be such an issue. If the venue holds 200 people, you might be able to split the room in half, or they might have partitions. I mean, they hopefully most have thought about the plan. But if you're looking at 200 people and a 200 capacity and there's no rain plan, I say, think about, am I going to be happy doing this backup option?
Oh, yeah.
Because in North Carolina, you always have to be prepared that weather can change. And if you're a happy bride that's getting married to the love of her life and you don't care where you're walking down an aisle, or even if you have one, then you're the great one.
Definitely.
You can choose off of your whim.
Yes, but if you're the bride that has seen all those Pinterest pictures and that you want pictures of your tables before people start touching them, if it's going to have to be turned over, you have to make sure that there is somewhere where those guests can go so that your photographer, videographer can capture that. And a lot of couples are doing their first look of the reception area. In order to do that, that venue has to have a space where those guests can go so that we can get those images. If you spend hundreds or thousands and thousands of dollars in your decorations for your reception and you want that opportunity to have it captured and have you and your groom actually, enjoy that before all the guests come in. And not that guests are irrespectful, but that they start dropping the purse, they start taking off the jacket. Before that space is, bothered, then maybe the venue that's going to just do a flip is not going to work for you because you're not going to get those pictures. But if you're the bride that doesn't really care for that,
then you can get by with it.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you something that people say, oh, I didn't think about that, is if the only bathroom's in the reception area and your dream is to have your ceremony and your cocktail hour and have this grand entrance into your reception, and you don't want anybody to see it until that moment, make sure when you're looking at venues that there's a bathroom near the ceremony cocktail area.
Yep. Or they're gonna
because
see it.
Otherwise we stand at the door like we're guardsmen, nobody go in there, nobody go in there. And
But
it's
they
really
have to
hard to
go.
tell grandma that she can't go in there either, because the bride is like, I want this to be, I want everybody to have a grand entrance. So they can't do that. If everybody's just running around, flipping the room and,
And never has
going
to
in
walk through it
and
to go
leaving
use
their
the restroom.
their handbag and their shawl and
Yeah.
everything at the table. So there's a lot of things that come into picking out a venue. So look hard, and if you have any questions, call me
There you
or
go.
Teresa. All right, well, thank you
Thank you
for
for
coming
having me.
today,
Of
and we
course.
thank you all for watching, and please don't forget to like, share, and follow.